For Susanna, she has two copies of the KIF1A gene. One's just like everyone else, but one has this one tiny little change, literally tiny little change with one single letter in this huge protein. So your brain cells are in your brain, but they also go down your back and your spinal cord, and they also go out to your peripheral nerves, or the nerves that go all the way down to your fingertips. Some of those cells are extremely long, actually can be multiple feet long. And you need to have a way of transportation. You need to have the infrastructure in terms of train tracks to be able to ship cargo or to move things around those cells. And so KIF1A are like the trains that run on those train tracks. Unfortunately, her trains don't run on time. In fact, her trains fall off the tracks, sometimes they get stalled on the tracks, and sometimes they have traffic jams, so that literally in terms of the trains, they're piling up and piling up and piling up. And with all of that, it causes dysfunction of her brain cells. We think part of the problem is that that cargo is vitally important for those cells to work, to be able to live, and to be able to function in terms of communication. So what we find from one does not necessarily apply to others, but it gives me a ray of hope that there is a window of reversibility, is the word I'm going to use, that we may be able to turn things back, especially in children and especially in young children.
First, I just want to say I'm hello to everyone. I'm sorry not to be seeing your faces in real life. I think we've done so much Zooming as a community over the past few years that this does feel almost as good as the real thing, but it's not quite. Anyway, we also all know how we need to be flexible and roll with the punches, and we certainly have a lot of those. So anyway, hi from my computer. I just wanted to say after the hello that anything that I might say in the next 5 minutes or however long we speak, that is anything but glowingly positive or sunshines and daisies. I just want to first temper that with some gratitude, because no matter how difficult things have been throughout this process and how difficult they may be going forward, the trials and the moments that have really weighed on us as a family, and those days that have been so hard, I am still so very grateful and so very lucky to have had those hard days, and I don't ever forget it. So just wanted to say that first. And it's true. We are extremely well, all the good things outweigh all the bad. And I think that's sort of been part of our experience as parents too, of both our kids, that those hard days, you don't want to trade them, because they make the good ones that much more poignant and real and enjoyable. And goodness knows, Miss Susanna is nothing if not enjoyable and a show for all. So there's that. But this treatment has been life-changing for all of us in very real ways, and it has been really very draining and very difficult at moments. And I am, I think I already said that I was grateful to be able to have that, to have them, but there have been points. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this little lady over here who is waving an empty cookie bowl at me. There have been points in it where I think we wondered, oh, if we can keep on going with what it's been. And it has been a collection of difficult days and many times difficult nights, difficult weeks. It has been a long time of scheduling, which I think sometimes I feel like I can take on the role of like our family PA. I don't think that's something that is unique to me though by any means. And I think that for those of you who have sort of undergone some of the koala bit, it's a lot of that you've got to gear up for, and it happens quite often. And it's been difficult to not have a to not have an answer ready at hand for the why am I doing this that comes to me from that girl over there, or why do I have to go? When is it going to end? And to have those ready answers. It's something that we have struggled with a lot as she gets older and asks more, and I'm very hopeful to be able to give her a positive answer sometime soon. But mostly, I just think that it's been a lot for our family in terms of this time that we've had over the past. Let's see, it was 4 years ago, I think, that things sort of went on this from almost manageable but very busy to seeming like we were sort of spinning out of control at moments. My father was diagnosed with leukemia in September of 2019, and then died in that November, at which point we had just a few more months until we had COVID, where we all went into lockdown mode, dealing with remote schooling. Then we had working on Susanna's application, this ESL, this great unknown that put a lot of asks on us as to what we had to fill in and think about, what we wanted to get from it and how it might work and what was going to be realistic. And at the same point, we're still trying to manage all the things that we did, that we all had to be living in our own little sort of bubbles, but reaching out for help when we could get it. Feeling pretty lonely at moments, but we obviously made through that. Soon thereafter, I think it was in late March of 2021, made through another year. We had Luke was diagnosed with cancer, and we started his treatment while we were still finishing things up. Then his dad was diagnosed soon thereafter, and he unfortunately passed away this past December. And it has been all of this while we are trying to then manage an extreme load of frequent EEGs and scheduling 6-minute walk tests and blood work and urinalysis and the visits, and none of which in itself is so terrible, except for the removal of the EEGs. That, Susanna, is the terrible. But it has been, I think, a accumulation of all of these sort of stressors that has been it's been present. Sorry, Susanna is now laughing at something very funny on YouTube, for which I'm happy. I hope you can hear that. Please break in.
One of the things that Wendy told us when this was to start was that this is not going to be a trivial decision to make, and that there were, there are considerations to sit down and think hard about before we do this. And it is, being in a clinical trial is pretty grueling. It's every day we spend about 3 hours a day inputting data and writing notes and recording things on what's going on and trying to interpret. And we're not doctors, so when we see something that could be a seizure, we mark it down as a seizure, and then we say, wait a minute, was it? Are we screwing everything up? Like, how it's, and I think that I'll say, Sally, that there have been a few very, very scary parts of this. Just to be completely honest, and we're so fortunate because we live 10 minutes away from our doctors, and that at one point there was a moment where we were really, really scared about something that we were able to just drive to the hospital, be there in 10 minutes and able to
Yeah.
get right into the ER. And that's something that I think is a blessing. And when you said earlier about it's also where you are, and that's really important because we would feel very, very lonely if we weren't with you.
I mean, we love and appreciate this team so much, and goodness knows that we have been turning to them. And by team, I mean medical team, Columbia. We have been turning to them so often, and that's something that should be perhaps small, like about the stomach bug. Had Susanna sitting in the ER for almost, for 12 hours and being put through an incredible slew of tests because we had to make sure that it wasn't an adverse event. And it's a lot. That's a,
The unknown is
Yeah.
You really have to trust. I mean, we trust Dr. Chum, we trust Dr. Bain, we trust Joy, we trust everybody. And if you don't trust people going into the unknown, then that's really hard. And we did make this decision knowing and hoping that it would, we call Susanna a pioneer because we really, really, really think and hope that what she's doing now will be something that will not just help her, but hopefully a lot of our kids. And I will say, Sally mentioned that my father died in December, which was after Susanna's third dose. Yeah, and before he died, I was able to show him a video of Susanna standing up on her own for the first time when she was 2 or something like that. And that was a blessing. And I feel as if my dad had a knowledge that all of the work that we've all been doing together is going in the right direction. That it was okay to do this thing. So that was
I think I brought them up because I wanted to somehow publicly make sure that even though they're not with us, that both of our dads were like included in this story, because it just needed to be sort of, if not in writing, then on screen.
And one thing's not more profound than the other. I mean, everybody in this room has lives that are complicated and complex, and people are, everything. And so being in a clinical trial and dealing with life at the same time is really hard, And then when things started we started seeing change where Susanna would go to school when she was able to go to school, and we would get a phone call at noon saying she either had a seizure or a fall and we had to come pick her up. And then all of a sudden that started becoming till 4 o'clock, and then the summer at camp till 8 o'clock. And so as we're trying to record all these data, now we're having to go to the people who are spending the day with her and say and explain what KIF1A and antisense oligonucleotide is, and here are the things, by the way, on top of being in camp cancer, can you please mark every time you see her staring off? It's hard to actually know. I don't know if you feel that way, Sal.
Oh yeah, I feel like we have been asking so much of a lot of people all around the clock, and it's we are reliant on an excellent school team, on the paras that are able to, we've got to tell them what we're looking for and hope that we're getting the answers. And it is, I will say this though, it is such a joy for me, for us, to be able to have a school day that is extending, beyond 2-hour spells because she's not so exhausted. That's just been a game changer. But yeah, no, we're definitely looking around a lot, and for for different feedback. And that's just sort of a thing too. I think it's how you don't see them grow when they're standing in front of you, but that growth can be in many ways. So it's really helpful and important to get feedback from all points. And
Incredible, and just not to breeze by the fact that that wall of fatigue that she always hit, that would just end her day, isn't there right now, you know, and who knows how long it's, we just don't know what, you know, it was really hard that, the week we started, the dosing was the week we also heard about, my heart goes out to these families about, a child who died from a similar ASR, and that was a very scary moment. But there weren't, I don't know, it's, I'm at a loss for words because I'm always overwhelmed about what we're doing and what we're about to see. And if, you know, it's when we go into have her dose and the whole, when we and Joanne and Jen are all there, and we the last time she walked into the procedure room, the first 2 times she's in her wheelchair or in the bed. And the going on the last time she came out here, I'm talking about how Susanna walked into the endoscopy suite. And that to me was inside, she knew that she was probably going. She has significant cognitive delay, but I felt like there was something inside of her, even though she couldn't articulate it, that she knew she was going someplace that when she leaves, she'll be different a little bit. And that was magical. And that was the first time that we went into the hospital with her. That wasn't for a catastrophic event or something, but it was going into the hospital and thinking, well, maybe on the way out, she'll be happier or less pain, or, you know. We also do realize the dosing is changing. Dosing is really tricky because we can see the drug wash out because it helps for a while her peripheral neuropathy. She has very painful hands and feet, and it goes away for a little while after dosing, and then a couple of weeks or a couple of months or a couple of whatever, it comes back, and that's when you're like, aha, I think we need to, you know, recalibrate things, you know. Maybe we should question.
yeah, I'd love to.
The question was to be those other things other than walking afterwards. She spends less time in her wheelchair, and I really noticed, you know, we always knew that she, and Dr. Chung put it very well, that Susanna always had so much inside of her that was right on the tip of her tongue that she just couldn't get out. And so we noticed better engagements. And we have no idea if that's just because her seizures are getting better and she's not sick all the time, or if she's just able to engage with people a little bit more. I've noticed that. What else have you noticed?
I think that her stamina has definitely increased just for, and not just physical, but for engagement. That we are seeing her be able to. Susanna went to a movie. Susanna sat in a movie theater and watched a movie and only got up once to, you know, go take a bathroom break, and that was jaw dropping. You know, which is at the age of 9 to sit through The Little Mermaid and make it happen, and that was would have been unheard of a year ago, which seems like a little thing, but it matters. And, yeah, she did. There was plenty of cotton candy there. Let's not. I mean, the treats definitely help, to be honest. But yes, no, I think that that's been a big thing. She's always been a swimmer, and she recently somehow made that little snap, the click between She used to do a sort of a mermaid swim where her two back legs would just kind of go up and down together. She hadn't figured out that articulation, and it happened. And I didn't think that it would, but there was a moment in April, we were in a pool and they both just went independently. And it felt big, and it is big.
Went from walking to swimming, and our hope is really that she takes so many anti-seizure medications right now, and our hope is to just get rid of those. Any kind of question next, Jane?
If I'm just so thankful for Susanna when you told us that, Susanna stood up for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so I wish I was there to see that, because if it wasn't possible, if it wasn't for Susanna wouldn't be herself right now.
Susanna, come over.
Yeah, of course. And hi, Janie.
Oh, yeah.
How are you?
Janie is on a good way.
Hi, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
you're
sorry I
Susanna.
couldn't talk last week. My voice is gone. Susanna would love to say hello.
If it wasn't, seriously, I'm not playing. If it wasn't for Susanna standing up by herself that day, I'd be like, are you? Question mark? Are you, like, if it wasn't for Susanna wouldn't be herself right now. So I'm just happy that Susanna is smiling and being beautiful, and visual empowerment doesn't matter what now, only Susanna and him does.
Thanks, Janie. It's pretty. She's a good one, this lady. She's put up with a lot. She keeps it going. Should I bring her over to say hello? Would that be the time to do this? Or no?
that's right.
Any other questions or?
Yes, Susanna, question.
Let me take these out.
Well, thanks so much for sharing the results. Is there any way in which Susanna can describe how the treatment is going for her, or what she feels?
I don't, let's ask her.
Okay.
I don't think she quite grasps everything that's going on right now. There was a time when I was on the phone with Dr. Chung, and she had asked me for like an objective point of view of something, and I just passed the phone over to my son Matt, who's 12, and can't get more objective than 12-year-old. So, yeah, but if she's come over, bring her over here.
Yeah. I'll get her. Let me go get that lady. Asking her how she.
I don't think she's going to.
Yeah, I don't know so much. There are moments like this is something that we've just sort of started bringing up. I think over the past year is what's going on in a way that she's a part of every conversation that we have with our doctors, because she's there, she's in the room. But there's a point where, hi girlfriend, where we've been able to talk about it sort of by introducing her daily medications, what it's for. This one, the gabapentin that you can't stand, it tastes very bitter, is so your hands and feet don't hurt. And, this one's so that your reflux isn't so bad. And we can talk about other ones so that we don't have to cover your eyes when you see flashing lights. So those are the things that we sort of try to make tangible. And I think that is helping to take something that feels very large and abstract I mean, even to us, and difficult to articulate, and to put it into sort of a manageable and, blatant, something that will grow with.
Oh, you didn't see the data this morning when you presented, so. I'll tell you about that. later.
Oh, I got you.
Not when he was gonna ask me to easily go. But, yeah, bring.
All right, let me bring the lady over.
Yeah.
Hey, pumpkin pie.
She will get angry when she falls now, if people come over to. Because she understands being self-aware. And and the little things that are, her tremors have gone away, not completely, but she can hold a baseball, she can do things that she wasn't able to do before. So we're so thankful to Lauren and to.
Susie, you want to sit or stand? You. Do you want to sit? Because I was thinking that maybe, do you want to sing your song, or do you want to talk to some people that might want to ask you questions? Okay, here, I'll move the chair back over then, so where you can be seen.
Jeremy is amazing at singing this girl on fire.
Yeah, can I come have a seat? I'm gonna try to hold the dress. Don't worry. You want a pillow behind you? Your hand on her. Okay, so guess what, Sienna? See this little thumbnail up here, which I didn't arrange. That is everyone in that room is listening to you. For real. And they might have some questions for you. Yeah. Okay. She's ready, guys.
If you want to sing a song for us, you know, this girl on fire.
You want to sing a song, or do you want to answer any questions or anything?
Good question.
Oh no, we are prepared. Everyone, I present to you Miss Susanna Rosen.
He's just a girl, she's a fire. Fantastic speed, fire away. Oh, he's walking on ground, and she's turning it down. Oh, and I'm in the clouds. He's breaking down. This girl is a fire. This girl is a fire. She's walking on fire, and she's just a girl. She's a player. Looks like you can burn your eyes. No, way you can top it away. She's on top of the world. Say, oh, she's rocking the ground, and she's burning it down. Oh,
Yay, Susanna, great singing.
Okay, what are we doing on Monday? The day after tomorrow. Where do we go?
what?
Are we going? What do we do the day after tomorrow?
What? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Having my procedure.
Yeah, and how do you feel about that?
Happy
Why?
because the oxygen may taste like smell like root beer.
Because the oxygen might smell like root beer. And then what happens?
And
Do you
then,
see a bunch of friends?
yeah,
Yeah. And do we have a sleepover?
yeah.
Yeah.
And we stay one night and we get room service
Room service.
and we once I wake up from my procedure, they will put a IV in me.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have to stay on my back.
Yeah, for a long time.
And then my mom.
And then your mom what? Oh, I might have something for her. And if I'm lucky, she'll like it. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what that was.
Sally and I will answer any questions if anybody has.
Yeah.
Anything. Of course you do.
What kind of impacts did having a daughter with that condition had on your life as a couple and as individual people?
That's a, she's been a lot of pain for a long time. That has subsided a little bit. Sally and I never sleep in the same bed because one of us sleeps together.
You have a
The
question?
lucky one gets to sleep at sleep,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I, yes, and it's,
And
Oh.
that's all you can.
How and just when you started waiting for my song.
oh, how interested everyone was when we were waiting for your song. Oh my gosh. Everyone has just been dying to hear that song. And I would say it's really hard to distinguish what my life is from what it is now versus what it could have been if things were different, because I just don't know, you know, this is sort of our reality. I think a lot about this one point when we were wanting to make sure that our kid, you know, our neurotypical Nat was learning how to tie his shoelaces, but also wanting to make sure that he felt really confident and independent in being able to just quickly get in and out by himself without getting someone's help. And it's this parenting decision between, you know, like, when do you stop doing the Velcro so they can be independent and getting out the door by themselves? And when you bring in the laces, they're learning how to tie their shoes and become an adult. And I think that it's a little small choice, but I feel like we face just a few more of those choices, you know, every day. And sometimes it's tough, because now the choice that we sort of have been looking at him is, you know, are we, oh boy, you know, we at one point actually had a discussion, like, are we going to spend our time that we have, the bandwidth, the time, the resources that we have of all sorts, you know, making sure that he's doing the very best that he can on his schoolwork and getting all top marks and completing them the way we would like? Or are we going to make it our focus to make sure that this year is positive and he comes out of it feeling like he makes great friends and is independent?
There's
And,
also the.
And made it choose one.
and we hope that he studies hard and he gets an A.
Oh, you know, yeah. And we also hope that
Even
he,
just on this while I'm watching, like, constantly saying, okay, those were two things that I would have marked down as a possible, what we're supposed to be recording home. And so it's like it's a constant, we have to evaluate this correctly, otherwise it's not going to be accurate, you know. And so and we're not doctors, so I don't know what is or what isn't, you know. But anyway. But she can stand up on her own.
Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna bring this lady back to YouTube. Moment.
I love you, Suzanne.
Again,
Yeah.
we're talking about the seizures again. Is there anything to ask about the
Yes.
Because I think seizures are a very complex thing to be able to diagnose, because you can't attach any EEG. So I would say, for example, we've never known if might just have a seizure because they can never catch anything. But you know how you were just saying as you went through the treatment, sometimes we saw something that could have been a seizure and really wasn't a seizure, wasn't it? And I think that is really challenging. How do you then know if something is or isn't a seizure?
I think it's so, Susanna has a rare form of epilepsy that her serial EEGs, we would be able to, which is, the doctors would tell us, you know, that she's, her nights are filled with seizures, and, we didn't have a way of measuring that. You know, EEG do, and EEG is part of the trial, so, you know, it's not just dad thinking, oh my gosh, is that a seizure right down there? There are actual real doctors, you know, doing it too. But our way of measuring that were the dark circles under her eyes and her attitude in the morning. Mornings are still tough, and they're getting better. But I fully believe it's because she takes very high dose Valium before bed. But her dark circles have started to go away. She's making it through longer days, and that's how I gauge nighttime seizures. So you know, but I think that Dr. Chung, Dr. Bain, and Dr. Sands, I think the EEGs are what is the real data, not, you know, I mean, we report everything we can. We try to describe every single episode that we see when she has a breakthrough seizure during the day. She's had a few where she, you know, she loses control and falls. So she, you know, yeah, the seizures, or I think, again, I'm not a doctor, but I think she's had several different types of seizures. Anything else? I don't want to put any of Joanne or Dr. Chung on the spot, but I don't know, any questions for them? They're doing a lot. It's really hard to, and I wasn't joking yesterday when I said how hard it is to collect urine, and it's such these little tiny things that doctors don't think about. I was talking to Greg about this, is that, you know, you go to the doctor sometimes and they say, okay, we just need to get some pee in the cup. And we're like, we can't do that. It takes a long time to sit her down on a commode and have a party and hydrate her until she actually pees. And it's not. It could be bad for a trial if you don't get it, if you don't have a clean urinalysis. Those little things are really hard to do. And people forget about that. So anyone out there who's designing clinical trials, remember the way to you know, kids who wear diapers able to collect pee without hurting themselves. I mean, we tried different ways of doing it. We've had to tape things to her, which is really painful.
You had mentioned that during that conversation, there would have been 3 or 4 things that you would have had to know. Just as an example for us, what would those be?
So there was one point where she kind of lost focus from the screen and looked up, and then she had a little shiver. And I would have said it's pretty hot in Long Island. You know, so I probably would have voice recorded that as, you know, Susanna just spaced out and then the shiver. And I don't know if that's a seizure or not, but the doctors do, and we just report everything we can, and yeah. I know, because you're constantly, and I feel bad because then I feel like I'm not a present father. Because I'm constantly looking to go, at night, I spend time recording the day's things. And I feel like I'm just watching and evaluating her instead of planning.
But I just want to see, commenting on the doctor side of things in terms of what Luke and Sally and Susanna have done. They've been incredibly, both brave as well as, generous in terms of being the first to go through the pioneers. This is an iterative process in terms of we've learned from what they've done and what they've seen and what they've been able to teach me, in terms of how we do this again. And so this will continue to be iterative as we go forward. Hopefully we figure out the pain points in terms of what things are more meaningful and sort of, less meaningful. I will say, and Luke mentioned something, you don't realize it, but I didn't tell you all of the data that we have intentionally, because Luke and Sally continue to be blinded to some of the objective measures. Everything that I showed you is what they're reporting, and it's all of that detail that Luke and Sally have been doing. We do have, just so that you know, a rigorous way of confirming, as I talked about, through the EEGs, what they're seeing and what does and what doesn't correlate with the seizure. We are learning in terms of understanding how Susanna's brain is working and how the medication is affecting in terms of what she's doing. That all will feed forward in terms of being able to modify both for Susanna's protocol as well for whoever follows Susanna afterwards. So although I don't think it's ever going to be easy, and being able to do this really is a commitment. In doing this, I do think we're going to be able to get to a point where it's not as hard in going forward, both in terms of understanding the dosage, understanding our safety, understanding what's really having an impact in going forward. And within this, the thing that's challenging for me is that Susanna, everyone's unique. Everyone in our community is unique. And while I think we've learned a lot from Susanna in terms of what's going to work for someone who's of Susanna's age and of Susanna's challenges, we have people that are different than Susanna. And so I will say we're going to be learning from the others who are following Susanna in the same way. And so it's going to take this real cooperation, real working together, and real working to be able to listen and learn from each other as we go forward. And so I say this because, something like what the Rosens have been through isn't going to be for everyone, and that's okay. I don't think anyone's asking us to do anything that's going to be too much. On the other hand, in doing this, it is a real opportunity. I do think the Rosens basically become scientists within the process of doing this, sort of, they've got honorary degrees coming through this. And it really is going to be the foundation for what we're going to do as a community in terms of being able to come up with treatment. So as I said it before, that I want to leave you with this, there is the light at the end of the tunnel. There really is the hope based on what they've done to be able to shine a light here. And within this, I'm not saying that it's going to be tomorrow, but there is a path forward. And so I want to make sure everyone goes home. I want to make sure folks that are listening at home take away from this meeting what we didn't have even a year ago. I mean, that's how far we've come in the last 12 months, is we really do have hope going forward. So I thank you, Susanna and Sally, and Nate as well, because Nate has been, I can tell you, I've learned from Nate. What Lucas said, Nate actually has given me a lot of insight in what he's seen in his sister as well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
She's just a girl and she's on fire, hotter than a fantasy, lonely like a highway. She's living in a world and it's on fire, filled with catastrophe, but she knows she can fly away. Oh,